And I'm your other co-host, Chris TV Viegas.
TB Viegas. I liked how I was trying to brainstorm right before we started, which is probably the worst time to come up with a nickname. It made me think of poor Jeremy, dude. You remember how we used to tell Jeremy,
Oh
"All right, man,
man.
have a nickname like preset, ready to go." And even sometimes he
hmm
would say, "Yeah, man, I got this shit." And then when we go to record, he's like, "Uh, Movie Man Marsh clocking in."
And it's funny because he would just say, "I'm Jeremy," before he came up with Movie Man Marsh, and
Right.
so it was just, "I'm Jeremy."
Did you ever listen to any of the old episodes in the
Matt,
archives?
I tried not to, but sometimes I do, and I'm like, "Holy crap, man! It's been woo! It's been 8 years."
It's been a journey. You know what, Connor, man, he's been trolling me, and I think he gets it from his uncle Chris, the art of the troll.
What?
And what he'll do is, I don't know if our new listeners now haven't listened to everything from way back then, or if people that have just stuck with us since then know. But man, we had that one generic intro, that bum bum ba da da bum
Yep.
bum, just
Yep.
that just plain Jane. I think it was like a stock audio or
No,
something that you
it
found.
was a stock audio that I found that I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds cool. Let's use that.
Yeah, and so it sounds. I mean, it was good for the time, but in
Yeah.
comparison to what we have now, it's just so archaic and just ancient. And Connor, man, what he'll do is he'll go down on Spotify or whatever and find just a random old episode. This was before we were sponsored by
hmm
BetterHelp and Manscaped, by the way. And before then, so it was just the start of the intro like that. So this kid, man, he'll come and randomly bug me and just play it that bum bum ba da da bum. I'm like, would you stop playing? I appreciate the hit, but damn, let's move on from that. But my point that I'm trying to make about all that is that in some cases, the past can be remade into something good. And in other cases, it can be remade into something bad. And whenever that is the case, it typically falls into the line of movies or TV shows. And that's
hmm
exactly what we're going to be talking about this week. Due to the arrival on Amazon Prime of the 80s classic action film Roadhouse, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, and Ghostbusters, the Frozen Empire, the sequel to the Afterlife Ghostbusters, which is basically a quasi reboot of the 80s version of Ghostbusters movies, we were thinking, man, it seems odd that we have a Roadhouse and a Ghostbusters movie in the theater right now. And then it
hmm
made us think some of these properties should never have been done, because I know a lot of people that were really pissed about the Roadhouse remake
Oh
being
yeah.
done. And me myself, I was kind of thinking, wow, that it seemed like the Patrick Swayze version should have been untouched property. And I think that now that Amazon owns MGM Studios, that any property under MGM is free reign for them. You got
Oh yeah.
Bond, you got Roadhouse. And so I thought, well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it was done, but it also made us think, what are some movies that have yet to be remade that should absolutely be untouched, should not even be discussed, should just be left in the past? Because, I mean, quite frankly, people are probably still watching it today. So we're going to rank our top three of those. But before then, we have our traditional segments, including our recently watched segment, which, Chris, take it away.
All right, man. I got to sit down and watch some stuff. Not a lot of stuff. Besides Love Is Blind this weekend. I'm still on that one though. We're on season 4 right now. And we've already watched season 6, so I only got one more season to binge. Um, and yeah, these people are crazy. I can't believe it's one of those like you just catch yourself falling into a trance of shitty TV and you just can't help but watch. And that is exactly what Love Is Blind has been for me, because it's like it's the same shit over and over every season. It's the same thing, the drama and this and that and blah blah blah. And I'm like, these people are just so weird at sometimes. But hey, you know what? I still watch it, and I'm enjoying it. So hey, here we go. Love Is Blind season 5 up next.
This is why you make the sacrifices that you do, Chris, so the rest of us don't have to.
Yeah, for sure. But also I got to sit down and I watched Eleven's new movie, Millie Bobby Brown, The Damsel.
Mm.
Um, it is a little rough, man.
Mm.
Some really cool visual effects, a really cool badass dragon in this one. I would say it's one of the coolest looking on-screen dragons I've seen on TV. But the movie itself, oh man, it's a little rough, a little slow in parts, and then the action that is in it, it's okay. It's not the best action sequences I've ever seen, but it was a good one watch. I don't see myself going back to be like, hey, I want to watch that again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so take that as you will. I mean, I would recommend it for a one watch. Once you get past it, you're done. Probably never going to go back and revisit it. But if you like Millie Bobby Brown, then go ahead. She does what she does, and I'm guessing she's just trying to move away from her Stranger Things stigma and roles and stuff like that. So it's all right.
How did the dragon stack up to the ones in House of the Dragon from a visual
Um,
standpoint?
from a visual standpoint, it's pretty on par.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it's probably one of the coolest graphic dragons that I've seen.
Okay.
It's pretty neat. And so have you watched
It's
it
not.
yet?
No, not yet. It's not very
No.
long, is
Okay.
it?
No, I think it's only an hour and 45 minutes. I
Okay.
think.
It
So
reminded me
it's a
of that
quick watch.
movie. It reminded me of that movie on Hulu with Joey King. Is it called The Princess or something? Where she's stuck in the tower, kind of like Rapunzel, and she's like fighting her way out of the tower, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a badass knight. I don't know why it reminded me of that particularly, but it seemed similar to that. But I mean, I think it looks good. Dude, I haven't watched any of her movies. I still haven't seen the Enola Holmes movies yet. It's almost as if
She's really good at
I
it.
heard,
I'm
yeah, I heard
surprised you
those were
haven't
good.
watched that.
I mean, it just kind of slipped through, and I'm sure she's really good in them. I've heard she's really good in them. Henry Cavill's Sherlock Holmes, which is
Yeah.
cool, but I don't know. We need to
Yeah,
prioritize those at some point.
you need to hit play on those, man. Those are really good
See,
for
I'm the
sure.
problem. She can't get away from 11 because that's all I've seen her in is Stranger Things.
Yeah. No, you'll see her. I mean, not in a super different light
Hmm.
with Enola Holmes, but you'll be like, oh shit, she got a little bit of range.
Yeah,
It's all right. So, kind of took a step back with this damsel, but yeah, no, not every movie you put out is gonna be a hit.
I suppose not.
She's not Tom Cruise.
Who is, bro? Did you see that video? Someone shared a video of him running on this set, and it was kind of ridiculous. People were like, Tom Cruise at 61 doing his own stunts, and he's just running. They're like, bro, chill. He's just running. It's not like it's that big of a deal. But I guess at that speed, if he trips and falls, it's gonna be a bad night for
um,
him.
for 61 running like that, bro,
Yeah, I
that's
guess
a
it's true.
big deal.
I guess
Because I
so.
can't run like that. I'm at 42.
Yeah, I suppose not. But so what else do you watch, man?
I am about 3 episodes in on Three Body Problems on Netflix as well.
Mm-hmm.
Super freaking weird show, but it's very cool. I like it. I like it so far. It's pretty neat. You kind of get lost because it bounces back and forth between past and present
Mm-hmm.
a lot, and the way it's shot and some of the storyline kind of falls in together. So there's a couple of times you're kind of questioning yourself: is this the past or is this right now?
Mm-hmm.
That's where that one is. It's not too bad if you're real big into sci-fi
Mm-hmm.
uh dramas, this is definitely up your alley. So
Dude,
I'll keep you posted on that.
I had no idea that Benioff and Weiss, the creators of Game of Thrones, was doing that show. I had
Yeah,
I had
there's a Game of Thrones. Sam, no, Sam. Yeah, Sam's in it.
Sam. Oh, he's in, yeah. I had no idea. And
Yeah, yeah,
that TikTok that I sent you, did you watch that about how the author there's like a conspiracy about
yes.
him being murdered and about
Uh-huh.
the rights to this because apparently they tried to adapt it in his home country already and it was such a flop that nobody liked it and
Uh-huh.
that this author producer whatever took it to Netflix or something. I don't know. It just seems kind of crazy, but I had never heard of it before. I'm not too savvy with books. If something's if a
Me
movie's
either.
out and I'm like, oh, that's based off a book, cool. But
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty bad about the popular books, and
Right.
um but yeah, that seemed really interesting and the story seemed really interesting too. So I find it
Ye-
difficult to put my trust and faith in Benioff and Weiss after what they did with Game of Thrones, man. It's just, it's just bad. They have a lot of goodwill
I
to do.
I understand. Like I see your hesitations, and I pushed play because I didn't want to watch Love Is Blind again. So
Yeah,
that was the next thing up on there. I was like,
it's like a
what the
mouthwash of
hell?
entertainment.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think it's definitely one you could get into,
Sure,
but it's definitely one that I can see you waiting to push play on for a while.
I got you.
So, and then the last thing I watched, was on HBO Max because of you, my friend, because of your kind of recommendation. I think you just said you watched it and it was crazy. But Quiet on Set,
Here we
man, the
go.
documentary.
Here we go. Buckle up, listeners, because my God.
Jeez, man, it is insane. If you haven't heard, the new docu series out, Quiet on Set, is about all the crazy shady shit that has went on in Nickelodeon in the 90s, to the kids there, man. It is heartbreaking, dude. It is heartbreaking because
Well, I mean, 90s, the 2000s, the 10s,
yeah,
like this shit was going on for decades.
yeah,
It's crazy. And I don't know, maybe it's just that whole I can't necessarily say ignorance is bliss because our mentality isn't to assume stuff like that's already happening. I mean, I know there are people that
right.
are very anti-Hollywood because of these types of stories and there's a certain belief in certain situations, but
Mm-hmm.
man, I we watched that and apparently it's also on Discovery Plus if you have that as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was just mind-blowing. I had seen a couple of people talking about it. I saw the whole Drake Bell storyline or not
Oh.
storyline, like it's a real thing, like the whole situation with Drake Bell and I was like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, people were," and I just posted about it like I usually do, and
Mm-hmm.
it blew up in my DMs. People are like, "Oh my god, this and this," and I'm like, "Whoa, this was just absolutely loaded," and people were watching it. And
Yeah.
dude, it's so sad, like you said, and some of the stuff that Dan Schneider, bro, talk about just wanting to beat the shit out of somebody, man. This guy is
Dude, and
just
I'm
sick.
like, how? Like, the one, he looks like a big fucking Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like, there's nobody in this world that can just beat the shit out of this dude.
Yeah,
Like, and if there, and I know there is, then why hasn't it been done? Like Drake Bell's dad, he looks kind of stocky. Like, go and
yeah,
beat the fuck out of this guy, man. Who cares what happens?
right.
I'm sure you'll get enough backing that'll post your bond that you'll be fine. But I mean, after everything came out, and dude, I'll tell you what got me like, oh, teared up. It was bad is when they were talking to Drake Bell's dad,
Yeah,
and he had found out that uh, they
Brian
caught
Peck.
him, or they did,
Yeah, Brian
yeah.
Peck. Yeah,
And it wasn't until after a while that he found out it was actually Drake.
hmm
And then he just, I mean, just talking about it, I mean, obviously it's super emotional,
hmm
and he just kind of breaks down, and he's all like, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it, and couldn't and didn't do anything. And like, just to feel that try to imagine how he felt as a helpless father that you couldn't help your kid. That's probably the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Man, I just felt for that guy, man. It's like, oh, that sucks so
Oh
bad.
god, and how he phrased it too. He was basically like, "Well,
Hmm.
I'm glad they found him before he got his hands on you," or something like that. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, dude, this is terrible." Um, the one that I thought was really shocking, and yes, this is semi-spoiler stuff, but maybe it'll get you to watch it. But I know a lot of
Yeah.
people that were like, "I know what it's about. I don't want to watch it. It's so bad. I don't want to watch it." But the one where the mother of the 9-year-old girl who was just an extra, she's just an extra,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that guy, the production assistant, I guess his name was Jason Handy or something like that,
Yep.
he emailed her a nude photo of him, you know, diddling his parts. And I'm just like, how, what? How did you not go to the police? How did you not?
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure you're thinking, well, I want to protect my daughter. I don't want the exposure, the national media frenzy, or whatever it is. But I'm like, but you're creating more of an issue with her by not getting her help or not.
Protecting her.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking,
Hmm.
God, I would, I mean, I don't want to try and say I'm going to murder someone on global podcast that we have, Chris,
That's
but
right.
dude, I'm telling you, any parent would just say, well, not even a parent, just anyone who protects in the nurturing of children, it would just
Yeah.
annihilate this guy. I was just blown away by that. I'm like, how did this guy get away from? And then not to mention that Brian Peck. I mean, what was it, like 16 months
Jeez.
in jail? I'm like,
Yeah.
and he got a job
Yeah.
after that. He was working on Sweet Life with Zach and Cody. I was like, what? This is crazy.
I don't understand how some of that shit happens. And I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm sure there's more out there that, that we may never know that
Yeah.
have actually uh been accused of sexual assault towards kids and not supposed to be around kids, but guess what? They're working at Walt Disney Park or Disneyland, and
Mhm.
it's insane, man. There's got to be something that has to be done about some of this stuff. And what's sad is that maybe for the next 6 months, hopefully longer, they'll look into it and they'll get a little bit more strict, but then it'll just fall to the wayside again.
You
Is
know,
what it
I
feels like. I hope it doesn't, but
yeah, and also they, not to step on headlines, but they ordered another episode of Quiet on Set. It's more of an extension or an expanded episode with Drake Bell. And dude, what did you catch that part where it was like he was talking to an underage minor himself? And I
yeah, and
I was like,
how
are we just, and they just kind of glossed over that. I said,
uh-huh,
I think we might need to talk about this now. I mean, I know that he had some shit that went down in his life to mess him up, but it still doesn't excuse the fact that you're doing the same thing, man. And
yeah,
maybe you might need to serve some time yourself. But I thought that was a little bit surprising, and they just kind of
uh-huh,
glossed over that fact. I'm like, hold on, rewind. Let's analyze this a little bit. But the whole thing
uh-huh,
was just crazy, and like you said, it's on Max, and 4 parts. That's it. It was just 4 episodes,
uh-huh.
one sitting. We knocked it out, man.
Oh yeah, us too. And the crazy thing is, so there was a whole. I mean, a big part of this storyline was Amanda Bynes.
Hmm.
And I haven't heard about Amanda Bynes in forever. And I wasn't a huge fan back then either. Like
Yeah.
Amanda Bynes show and all that stuff, I was like, she's got a kind of annoying voice, so I never
Well,
really
plus we were
watched it.
getting a little older at that point. I think
Yeah,
we were about like in high school when that show was coming out and stuff.
yeah. And so I looked up like what does she look like now? Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, man.
Yeah.
Like she's let herself go. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
that stems from lots of trauma as a kid,
Hmm.
and it's insane. And then I saw a TikTok not like a couple of hours back where the cast of Ned's Declassified
Hmm.
where they were doing a TikTok live and they were kind of making fun of Drake.
Mm.
And Drake kind of reposted, and he was all like, "Really? You're gonna go there? And you're gonna be like that?" And quickly, that cast was all like, "Oh, we're so sorry. Did not mean to make fun of you and this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure you didn't, bitch." But
You're like, Ned's classified class. If I see you in person,
mhm.
it's on site, bros. Chris, it's okay,
Put
man.
putting you on the list, homie. Knock
The
shoot.
entire
Mm.
cast.
Mm-hmm.
But so did you watch any other wholesome entertainment this past week?
No, I had to stop there, man. That was too. It was traumatizing for me.
Yeah, you're like, I need
I
to
had to
take a
stop.
break.
I need to call better help right now.
Man, and I was kind of wondering, like, I wonder about that too. I wonder if BetterHelp sees something like that or a representative and they kind of want to reach out to somebody and say, hey, you're more than welcome to use our services on
Yeah.
us, because that's some pretty traumatic stuff. But if you don't happen to get any kind of free sessions or anything,
Pro
they don't
bono
offer that.
stuff.
But I will tell you, if you put in the promo code Screen Addicts or go to www.betterhelp.com/screenaddicts, one word, you can get 20% off of your entire month for all of your sessions, and you can pick your own therapist, anybody you want to talk to, or how you want to talk to them. And this is actually something that I think is pretty cool, that people don't really want to put themselves out there and go face to face with somebody. Some people don't.
Mhm.
Some people are really reclusive into the sense that they don't want to share everything to a complete stranger right off the bat. And so what BetterHelp does provide is it allows you access to talk to a licensed professional via text, phone, email. You could start out by just emailing them. I mean, that's how because they don't care. They want you to talk to somebody about anything that you're dealing with. And if you want to start with an email, you can go there. You can have a text session with your licensed therapist. And if you're not feeling that one, you can always choose another one. There's so many licensed professionals on there. It's on a national level. So if you really do need to talk to somebody, or you've experienced anything similar or worse, or not even that bad, if you're just having a bad day, go to betterhelp.com/screenaddicts and save 10% off your first month. And yeah, I think that was a pretty good, that's a pretty, Chris, you've done two in a row where maybe we're just talking about some really serious shit on this show. We need to lighten up the
Maybe.
program a little bit,
No
man.
joke. And how we lighten that up is, what did you watch, my friend?
Oh, okay. I have a couple of things that I watched. And well, I guess I do have my list here. Let me see here. I started with, of course, Quiet on the Set, and finished that in one sitting. I watched Ricky Stenicki on Amazon Prime. And it's the new comedy with Zac Efron and John Cena. Yes, you do see him in the movie. He plays this character named Hot Rod Rod, or Hot Rod Rex or something. Well, I guess it starts with Zac Efron and his two buddies, and the other guys is Jermaine Fowler, who's been in some Hulu movies, and Andrew Santino, who has this hilarious podcast with Bobby Lee. You've probably seen their
Oh yeah.
interactions together. The redheaded dude with the sweet red beard and stuff, and they Zac Efron and those two guys, they created this fake person, Ricky Stenicki, to basically be their conduit for all the things that they do wrong. So if something bad happens, oh, it's Ricky Stenicki who did it, and people buy into it, and they've used that their entire life. So as they're grown up, they're not really doing anything bad per se. It's not like they're going out and cheating on their wives or girlfriends or anything. They just feel like they need to decompress from their life. So they'll create a situation where Ricky Stenicki needs them. Well, it gets into a point where the lies are starting to bottle up and snowball effect, basically, and they're like, all right, we got to get ahead of this. And they meet John Cena's character, who's this crazy Vegas music impersonator who changes all these popular songs in, to forms of masturbation, and it's hilarious. They basically hire him to be Ricky Stenicki. So he comes in, he's Ricky Stenicki, and dude, it's actually pretty funny. I didn't realize it was a Farrelly brother movie, because Peter Farrelly and Bobby Farrelly, these guys, Dumb and Dumber, Something About Mary, Kingpin, Shallow Hal, all these movies, Stuck on You, just a whole bunch of these comedy movies, Me, Myself, and Irene. And I thought that they split up. There's only one Farrelly brother, which I thought was kind of weird, that directed this movie, but it was kind of interesting to see that. And I was saying that I think I realized that I'm maturing as a person whenever I see these characters acting completely repugnant and stupid, and I'm like, "Oh my god, there's no way you could get away with that with your wife or your significant other." And it's so funny. but it's just a goofy.
Don't try, Steven.
I know, like, who would we create, Chris? Like, let's create a fake friend. What would his name be? Let's see.
Ronald Phalange.
Oh, Ronnie. Hey, you know Ronnie?
Yeah.
Phalange. Oh man, what was Ronnie Phalange banana hammock? It's
Crap
awesome.
bag.
Crap bag. Yeah, that's perfect. But they're like, nope,
Or
those were characters and friends. I was like, oh
what's
shit.
the fake guy that Ken Adams. Oh, it could
Ken
be Ken Adams.
Adams. Yeah, Ken Adams. We could never get away with Ken Adams, man. But
Oh, hell
Ricky
no.
Stenicki's on Prime. If you want a stupid comedy, I mean, it's there. I also talked about Roadhouse. Well, I didn't talk about it. I mentioned that I watched it. I enjoyed it, man. It's just I don't know what you expect watching something like this. It's just maybe it's because I lived in Florida for too long and it's set in Florida, and I'm just like, oh, this feels like home to me. I'm
This
like,
is the way they really act.
right. I was like, that looks like the place down the street. But it's set in Key West. I've always liked Jake Gyllenhaal. I like that kid since October Sky, Chris. So
Absolutely.
since the Bubble Boy, but I really, I mean, there isn't really anything that Jake Gyllenhaal's been in that I didn't like, except for maybe that Velvet Buzzsaw bullshit. That was so stupid, and I thought he was really good. I liked his perspective that he had on Dalton. He's not exactly a philosopher, but he is Zen-like in the way that he doesn't want to hurt people, but yet he can brutally hurt people. Conor McGregor comes in this movie 1,000 miles per hour. It's like one of the best bit of stunt casting I've seen in a long time. And people are like, he didn't do that good of a job. What the hell did you want him to do? Fucking Brando and Godfather? What were you expecting from Conor McGregor? Come on now. It's
Yeah,
fun.
no shit.
It's for fun. And he was great in it. Dude, the TikToks I've seen of people like doing his like his like walk and stuff. It's
His
so
billionaire
funny.
walk.
Yes, it's so funny. And then, like, if you want physicality, you honestly believe that he can beat the shit out of everybody in a room because he can. You know, I think
Yeah.
that's the whole point of this character. He's just a madman. And I really enjoyed it. I don't really understand why people are so critical of something about this. I can understand them being apprehensive to watch it because they love the Patrick Swayze one so much. I understand
Mhm.
that part, but I thought it was it was the best version of a remake that you could possibly get, where it takes the bare bones of something but adds in different layers of meat, and it's just
Mhm.
different enough to feel like a brand new remake. Kind of reminded me of the Footloose remake with
Okay.
you know, that came out like 10 years ago.
Julianne Hough.
Yes, yes, Julianne Hough, Dennis Quaid's her dad,
Mhm.
and I thought that was actually really good. I was like, man, this is alright. I mean, it doesn't hurt that it's from the director of Hustle and Flow, a really credited director, but I think, and also this one was directed by oh my god, I just went blank. He directed Edge of Tomorrow. He directed The Bourne Identity. Oh, Doug Liman.
Oh,
See, I knew it was gonna click. And so a very accomplished director doing this movie.
yeah.
And dude, there was some controversy because apparently they told him that it was gonna have a theatrical run, and it never did. I think it came to like a couple of theaters,
That's what
and
I was about to ask you,
yeah.
dude. Like, what? I mean, obviously we're gonna play the what if game, but
Mhm.
do you think it would have taken down Ghostbusters?
I don't know. Ghostbusters is a big family friendly entertainment. It casts a wider net. I don't think it would have, but I think it would have done well on its own. I think
Mm-hmm.
because Ghostbusters made about 40 million, you know,
Yeah.
opening, which is pretty decent. And there's just, I mean, Ghostbusters is just more. It would attract more viewers, and it's PG-13. Roadhouse is a hard R, you know, so
Yeah.
it's like, although spoilers, I didn't get anything like the throat ripping out scene. I thought that there was going to be something that would try to top out the scene where Patrick Swayze rips out the bad guy's throat with his bare
Mm-hmm.
hands. And you don't get anything like that, which was kind of like, okay, well that's a little disappointing, but overall I was entertained, and that's all you really want from a movie like that. If you go in expecting something like that, then that's exactly what you're going to get. But I also
And
wanted oh, I'm sorry.
well, I'm just saying. I think you're right. I think a bunch of people are just going into this movie already comparing it to the original, and kind of fair enough. I get it. You have to. It's a remake. But then, like you said, you see the cast. Like, don't think you're gonna get an Oscar-worthy performance out of Conor McGregor.
Right.
Take it for what it is, like you
Yeah.
said, and just to have fun with it, man. Like, not everything has to be like Oscar-worthy to be fun.
Speak for yourself, Chris. If I was on the Oscar panel, I'm writing in Conor McGregor for Best Supporting Actor.
You do you.
And his character Knox, he literally has his name tattooed Knox on his stomach 3 times, and I'm just like, what is this? This is so crazy. I don't know. I'm
Jeez.
like saying it's dumb, it's crazy, but I'm like ear to ear grin, man. I'm just all into it. And like I said, Gyllenhaal was good in it too. And I thought that the supporting cast, like Daniela Mercier, who played Ratcatcher 2 in Suicide Squad, is the love interest in this one. She's really good.
Okay.
She's really charming. And I recommend it. I would say you should go see it. And it's just big, dumb, fun action. And did you watched it, right?
I haven't yet.
Damn it, Chris.
I watched Damsel instead.
You damsel in distress.
I felt like that after the movie was
Right.
over.
I thought that's how you felt after watching Love is Blind.
That too.
But man, you've got to watch it. You'll enjoy it. It's just fun. It's like a throwback to old 80s action movies, man. Just doesn't really have to do much. Just entertain, have some badass action scenes, and that's all you really need or want from it. But speaking of the 80s, I did see Fathom Events put on a screening of Rad, and it was the first time that I saw Rad. I had talked about it a little bit last week that I was going to go watch it. Me and Sonia drove about an hour west to Destin to go see it, and dude, it was so surreal watching that movie in the theater, man. It felt odd, but it was also fun. There were a lot of other super fans there. And it's one of those weird situations where you're like, do we engage with this movie like we would watching something like Rocky Horror or something where you can sing along with the music and say the lines, kind of like when you go to a screening of The Room or something, like what's the feel, the atmosphere going to be like? Well, you sit and you start watching, you're like, okay, nobody's saying anything. So I guess this is just a sit down and shut up. Except for the idiot sitting next to me, man. This guy was trying to sing all the damn songs like he's the only one who saw the movie. And I'm thinking, okay, you're the only asshole in here talking now. Now shut up. It's like, that's it. This isn't that type of movie. Stop talking.
Read the room, buddy.
Exactly. I'm
Read
like,
the
right,
room.
But it was so great seeing that movie. Plus, Fathom Events put on this Q&A after the movie where it was like a Zoom call where Ed Helms, who plays the Nard dog, Andy Bernard in Office, Hangover, he has this panel with Bill Allen, who plays Screw Jones, the lead, and Bart Connor, who played Bart Taylor, and the producer of the movie, the producer's son, who is the one that had it all restored for his digital company Utopia. And they were just talking about the movie. It's probably about a 30-minute session, which was really cool that they put that on there. But anytime you go see a Fathom Events movie, they always tack on stuff. So be sure you stay post credits, because a lot of people on like these rad forums, they were like, what was this? We didn't get this in the theater. And they're like, well, did you stay till the end credits? And they're like, no, we left. I'm like, you got to stay, man. They're going to post stuff extra for you when you go see a Fathom Events movie. But Rad.
So what was the fit when you went to go watch this movie?
Did you
theme out, bro?
Yeah, of course. And if anybody goes to cinema_Steven on Instagram, you will see the full drip. And actually what it was is that Etnies, the skateboarding brand, they created a whole Rad line a couple of years ago. So I had this long sleeve Rad shirt, these like checkers on the side, and then I had their Etnies Rad shoes, which are red and blue, and had like Rad Racing label on it, like Crew Jones's whole look at the end of the movie.
Nice,
dude. I'm like pro Rad. I love it. As a matter of fact, it's like one of my all-time favorite movies. And look, I even have like 2 copies of the movie.
Of course you do.
Because it's just
for everybody just listening. Steven is now holding up both of the copies of red.
One of them's the 4K, one of them's the Blu-ray, but they're different packaging and they're so exquisitely beautiful that I can't.
They're so rad.
They're so rad, man. And so it was just a radical time, and I absolutely loved it. And shout out to Sonya to sacrifice one of her nights to go all the way out of there, out of her way to go watch this movie. And she's cool. She loves all those 80s movies like that, extreme sports. And she used to hang out at the spot in Tampa's a skate park at Tampa. That was kind of her thing. And she was asking me, she's like, "Do you like that or North Shore better?" I'm like, "There's nothing I like better than Rad." But yeah, shout out to North Shore, which is also a great 80s surfing movie. So any extreme sports movie, I was all about, especially as a kid. But other than that, man, that was all I had this past week. And now it's on to headlines. Okay, so a couple of headlines that I had, nothing too crazy. Emmett Walsh passed away. This is an older character. He's probably a guy that you wouldn't know his name until you saw him and stuff. And then if you saw him, you're like, all right, that makes sense. He was in Blood Simple, The Jerk, Harry and the Hendersons,
Oh,
mostly
the
80s
jerk.
stuff,
Wow.
but he was
Yeah.
also in a lot of other things. He was in some Tales from the Crypt episodes and My Best Friend's Wedding. Just a random character actor that's been around. He passed away, unfortunately. And also had a note here that if you're a fan of Euphoria, I guess season 3 has been indefinitely put on hold. So
Yeah.
they're not going to be filming that for a while, if ever. It's really weird. I think a lot of that has to do with scheduling conflicts, obviously, as Zendaya is just blown up massively now. And Sydney Sweeney, of
Sweeney
course, has
too.
blown up
Yeah.
too. So it's like to get them to work out their schedules, but that's on the managers to not their managers, but like HBO management to draw out contracts where they have to be back at a certain time
Yeah.
to film the show. Like if you have them in a deadlock, there's nothing that they can do to get out of it. They have to come back and film the show and then be gone with it. So if you're a fan of Euphoria, unfortunately, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to be getting season 3 for a long time until they can work that stuff out. And
Mhm.
another weird note that I saw was that the cast of John Tucker Must Die had a reunion this past weekend, and then it came to be that they're making a sequel. Do you even remember John Tucker Must Die? It had
Isn't that like a rom-com?
yeah, it had Brittany
Okay.
Snow in one of her first movies, and it had Sophia Bush, Ashanti was in it, Ariel Kebble.
I do remember it
It
now.
was like
Okay.
'06, right? And these 4
Yeah.
girls have all been screwed over by John Tucker, who's played by Jesse Metcalf, who was popularized as the pool boy in Desperate Housewives. Studly dude. Kind of reminds me of
Mhm.
myself. And he's like
Okay.
he apparently they were all having a reunion this past week in a panel discussing the movie, and it's been noted that they're making a sequel. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't think anybody really wants a sequel or how you could even
No.
do it, but that's cool, I guess. And it's just really weird to see Brittany Snow, like, I don't know, she seemed to have the most flourishing career post John Tucker Must Die. So I guess that's cool if you're a fan of that. But my last note before you had anything, and I just saw this today, Chris, I almost
Mhm.
fainted, man. I almost just lost it when I saw this. That Jeremy Allen White, the bear, Carrie Von Erich from the Iron Claw, Lip from Shameless, is going to be playing Bruce Springsteen. The bear will become the boss in an A24 film, which is apparently adapting a movie based around the Nebraska album by Springsteen that was released in the 80s. It's a very 80s centric episode now that I'm starting to think about
It
it.
really is.
But apparently he's going to be playing Bruce Springsteen in the development of the Nebraska album, which is, arguably one of Springsteen's most personal albums as he's dedicated it to his dad. 'Cause, his dad didn't raise him. He grew up in New Jersey, but his dad left and he left for
Mhm.
Nebraska with his mother while he was stuck in New Jersey. Well, not stuck, not to offend any New Jerseyans or anything. Well, he was still in New Jersey being raised by his grandparents with his 2 sisters. And it just turned out to be one of his most personal albums at the time. And I guess it's going to be an adaptation of him making that album, which I don't give a shit if he's making an album about Born in the USA. His Western Skies that came out last year, I don't care. But Jeremy Allen White playing Bruce Springsteen, dude, it's just that's so crazy. I mean, not in a bad way. I'm excited because, dude, The Bears just put me on a tailspin. I can't think of anything with that show. I've been wanting to rewatch that show. And I was talking to Sonya about Shameless. Like, we never watched
Mhm.
Shameless, and I heard that show's just
It's
absolutely
pretty good.
riveting. Oh, yeah,
It's
that's right. You
good.
saw it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
And so, because I was telling Sonya, I said I watched the UK version like 12 years ago, the one that it was based off of, because I
Right.
was like, okay, well, before I watch this US version, let me watch the original version. The UK version's really good too. It didn't go on as long as the US. It's kind of like The Office, right? The UK version
Right.
is like 10 episodes max, whereas the US Office had like close to 120 or something like that. But I never got around to watching the US version of Shameless, but I hear that his character in that is so good. His performance in it is just as good as anything else that he does. So
Yeah.
the fact that he's going to be playing Bruce Springsteen, just that sits very well with me. I
And you posted and you put that side by side shot of them two.
Mhm.
Pretty damn close,
Yeah,
man.
it seems like it could be. Dude, you know who I always thought should have played Bruce Springsteen was Sam
Don't say you.
Palladio. Huh?
Oh, okay.
Who'd
I
you say?
said don't say you.
No, hell no. Yeah. Some Mexican kid from Texas should be Bruce Springsteen. You know, I'm a chameleon, Chris. I'm like Daniel Day-Lewis method. I can do anything. No, see, I can't even do his voice. Forget it. But I no, now you made me forget what I was talking about. What was I saying?
Who
Bruce
you
Springsteen.
thought would
Oh,
play?
right. Right. Sam Palladio from Nashville, who played Gunner in
Oh,
Nashville.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, and you know, not to like say anything, but he actually gave me a shout out on a post that I made because we were watching the end of Nashville, and I said, "Man, Sam Palladio, you know, he looks like a young Bruce Springsteen. He should play Bruce Springsteen." So I made a side by side, and he actually liked that, and he was like, "Hey, if you know anybody, let him know." And I'm like, yeah, no problem, bro. Let
I
me
know
make it.
all the people,
I
bro. What are you
know
talking about?
me and the boss, we cool. So yeah, but that was pretty awesome. But I always thought he looked just like a young Springsteen. But I get where it is. I mean, granted, uh, Jeremy Allen White looked nothing like Kerry Von Erich. He's about half of his size, but he did a
Yeah.
damn good job in the Iron Claw. So I can't really complain about that. But yeah, do you have any headlines that you would like to share or anything?
Only thing that I'd like to share is today, Tuesday, March 26th, the first teaser trailer of Bad Boys
Oh yeah,
dropped.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
I immediately
Pretty
sent that to
good.
Jeremy because Jeremy's not even on social media anymore, and I'm like, dude,
Mm.
we'll know something for days, and then Jeremy will send it to me. He's like, look at this breaking news. I'm like, Jeremy, bro, get on Facebook, get on the Screen Addicts Fanatics, and see what everybody's been posting. We've known this
Mhm.
for days, but so yeah, what is it? Bad Boys. What's this new one called?
Ride or Die, I
Ride or
think.
Die. That's right. I was like, is it like the challenge Ride or Die? But yeah, Ride or Die. That's right. Because what was the last one's Bad Boys for Life, and
Yeah.
I kind of like the sub names. I guess I like that better than Bad Boys 4 or something. You
4.
know,
Yeah.
doesn't seem as personal. But I mean, it looks great. I think it looks funny. And Martin looks like he's in a little bit better shape than he was in the last one. I was like, damn. I was like, he looks like Big Mama's house in this.
He looked like what's his name from Wonka when he ate too much chocolates.
Keegan. Yeah.
Because
Chris, stop. Why are you bringing Wonka up, man? We're having a
it's
great
the
time.
best.
We're having a fantastic evening of recording this wonderful show that's been going on for 8 years. That's what's going to end the show is Wonka.
Wonka.
You know, it was funny. That movie actually is streaming now on HBO Max, and if you have Max, you can watch Wonka. And of course, it's
Yeah,
number
go
one.
watch it.
Yeah,
Go watch
I think everybody should because they need to get that one out of the way for the sequel, which is going to be the true Wonka movie that we all deserve. But yeah, so I guess that's all I had for headlines. Did you have any other ones? Yeah, Bad Boys. That's a
That
good
was
one.
it, man.
All right.
Yep.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this. Okay, now time to go into the main topic. And I guess I could say back to the 80s, but it seems like this entire episode has been in the 80s already. And
It has.
as we had mentioned, we are going to be talking about 3 movies that we should never, under any circumstances, see be remade. And this is, of course, inspired by Roadhouse and Ghostbusters, 2 popular 80s movies. So we're sticking with the decade of the 80s. I don't think
Mhm.
that we're going to extend it any further or any after. So it's just the 80s
Not as of right now.
as of right now, right? Until we see something from like 2000 being remade, we're like, oh, hell no.
Oh.
Now we got to cover this whole decade. Because it's true. I mean, when you think about it, a movie that's 30 years old was just, 1994. And that seems crazy. It seems like it's like
Quit talking.
I,
You're making us feel older than we. I mean, we are
well,
old,
Chris,
but
back in the
man,
day when we had those pictures,
the motion picture
the
shows.
motion picture. Now we are in Cocoon,
Oh shit!
which I'm surprised hasn't been remade. But
Don't
okay.
remake it. You gave away my number one. Thank you.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to. Try
It's okay.
back to the drawing board. So okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and now if one of these movies on the list, like we fact checked all of them, and as far as we know, none of them are in the process of being remade. Sure, there's probably discussions about some of them, but if they are, well, now we're gonna be really pissed because they're on a list
Oh yeah.
of prestige that should never be touched. So I'm gonna start off with my number 3 movie, and that is gonna be The Princess Bride. This is Rob Reiner's 1987 fantasy classic, who I feel everybody could still enjoy this movie. And I think when Stardust came out in 2007, I'm like, this is the closest to a Princess Bride remake that they should ever do, and that's it. And it's still different name, stuff like that. So I think remaking The Princess Bride would be criminal just in the sense that it already is perfect. It covers everything. It's funny. It's action. It has a great love story. Wonderful performances. Andre the Giant. I mean, what giant are they going to get in there half as charming as Andre? I mean, come on, please. The Undertaker? No, that's
I was
probably what
about
they're
to
going to
say
do.
the Undertaker.
It's going to be like a dark version of it, but that's the thing about The Princess Bride. And yes, there's been many discussions of it trying to be remade, and I hope it never comes to fruition because, dude, even The Princess Bride is on Disney Plus right now, and it's always a top streamer. So why remake it if it's already doing well? And I don't know. But yeah, that's my number 3 is The Princess Bride. Your number 3,
Nice.
sir.
My number 3. You'll see a theme with my movies, but I will stand by these, and they should never be remade. So my number 3, I'm going with 1986, and the queen of the 80s herself, Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink,
Mhm.
and those are just some performances you can never redo. I don't
Yeah.
think. I don't think there's anybody that I could see be like Molly Ringwald.
Mhm.
Kind of take her throne in these types of movies, and you just don't do it. I mean, if you want to watch something like that, just go watch the original. It's
Mhm.
okay. It stands the test of time. Because I mean, we watch Pretty in Pink quite often around this house because it's one of Tasha's favorites. So just don't touch it. Just leave it alone. Let it be.
Dude, we're still talking about that movie. We had a one of our listeners, Alyssa Hardy. She posted something in the Fanatics page just the other day about Molly Ringwald and her final dress in that movie and what a disaster it is. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
is this a product of the time? I'm not really sure, but yeah, it seemed like the popular opinion was that it is a trash dress, and
Yeah,
so I think, but just the fact that we're still having a discussion about this movie that is, would you say 86? Yeah, it's
86.
almost 40 years old, man. Like, I'm absolutely shocked Pretty in Pink has never been remade. I mean, I am just shocked. And I'm
Yeah,
glad that it hasn't. I mean, because it's a movie that it is part of its time, but it does seem like it could be switched up and remade today. It seems like a very easy movie that could be remade. And there have been 80s movies like that. Like, for example, Can't Buy Me Love, Patrick
yeah.
Dempsey. I love that movie. I mean, I know a lot of us did. And when they did that Love Don't Cost a Thing with Nick Cannon, the remake of that,
Oh
dude, it
yeah.
was just garbage, man.
Well, it was Nick
Garbage.
Cannon.
I mean,
Duh.
well, dude, Underclassmen was a master. Yeah, you're right. That was shit. I mean, it's like I think he had two
It's
kids
no
born during that.
Drumline.
Hey, haven't we had this? You brought it
I
back.
love
I
Drumline,
do
man.
too.
I'm so
I don't. I can't sit on any slander of Drumline now. Like that movie. That movie's pretty good. I do like. I do like Drumline, but that wasn't a remake of anything, which is
no.
good. But I back to Pretty in Pink. I just think that it's crazy that that has just never been done before. That's a good pick. I
Mhm.
think it should stay that way too.
It
Obviously, I
is.
think all of them should. That's the point.
That's the point, Steven.
All right, so
All
round
right,
up to your number 2.
my number 2. I am going just a year back, 1985, and like I said, you're going to see a theme with my movies, but I feel very strongly about them. Anthony Michael Hall, of course, another 80s just classic actor, but in this one, plays a weird kid that makes a woman and weird science.
Weird Science.
Oh man, and me and Steven were kind of talking about this before we started to hit record, and one of my things is like, you know what? Yes, it should never be touched. I mean, if you want to watch something like it, just go watch it. It's already out. Go watch it. It's fine. It stands the test of time. But the thing is that I said, Steven, I don't know. It may be cool to see the new visual effects with this one. And Steven's all like, no, I don't think so, because it would all be CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had multiple discussions on how practical effects are so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're right. Like, it would, some of the like computer stuff would probably get upgraded and look a little bit cooler, but you can never ever CGI Chet as a big pile of shit. That always has to be practical
Yeah,
effects, man. Because you can't. I mean, you just can't get some of that feel from a pile of shit with CGI shit.
it has to be practical or nothing to get the full organic mass.
That's right.
Man, I that goes for a lot of 80s movies too. I think the part of the charm are those effects. You know,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Alexi who knows all
Oh
about
yeah.
that stuff. And I'm sure she would vouch for your words as well. But
Yes.
I think that movies like that, I mean, that's what makes them so not the charismatic. It makes it so identifiable. So such a
Mm-hmm.
cult classic is just the look of it. And it's kind of like something like Real Genius with Val Kilmer. I mean, would that movie have worked if it was CGI too? It just looks better with the way of, the way of practicality. And
Yeah.
that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. Although I think even when they remade, you remember when they did the show Weird Science on USA, and Vanessa Angel,
Yeah.
who was in Kingpin, played the
Mm-hmm.
played the woman. Even then, it was still very much a lot of practical. I mean, it was the early '90s, so obviously they couldn't really do a lot of CGI. They had like lightning that wasn't real and stuff like that, but everything else
Look
looked.
like Smallville.
Oh shit! Smallville was the best. Dude, I saw this meme, not to go too far off on a tangent, but I saw this hilarious. Oh man, I have to find it, but it was like, I'm gonna tell my kids, kind of one of those memes, and it was like, oh, what did it say? I already forgot. Never mind. I'm just gonna move on. But it was
All
something
right.
like it had the cast photo of Smallville, and they were like, oh no, I know what it was. And it had the cast photo of Smallville from season 1. It says, I'm gonna tell my kids that this was the cast of the Fast and the Furious. And dude, when you look at it, you're like, oh my god, it fits. It fits so well. But man, I love Smallville. I love it. It got really shitty there for a while, but man, it persevered.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be remade too, by the way. All right.
Isn't it? Isn't it kind of though?
Well, I guess if you look into like Crisis and all that stuff that they did with the Arrowverse, it's an homage of sorts.
Okay.
I don't know. So my number 2 movie is one that I'm sure a lot of people would agree with, and of course there have been rumblings, discussions, and that would be the Goonies. I mean, come on, you can't remake the Goonies. I mean, you can, but it would suck because, well, for one, the kids can't curse anymore like they used to. I think I learned a lot of bad words just by watching the Goonies alone. But I, I don't understand this notion of wanting to make a sequel. I guess a sequel would be better than a remake, of course. I think if you sequelize something, I'm okay with that rather than just a full on remake. I'm just not too keen on that idea. But I did hear a thought that Sean Astin might be like the dad in a remake of that. But this was also around the time when he was in Stranger Things, when
Hmm.
Bob Newby superhero was blowing up. And they're like, "Oh, what are some other Sean Astin properties we could cash in on?" Like, "Oh, well, he could be, you know, grown up in the Goonies now or something." But I'm glad that didn't happen. So that is my number 2
Glad
pick.
that. Yeah, I'm glad that died down quick.
Yeah, me too.
Imagine trying to do that and kind of like we were talking, like all of those practical effects being CGI.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Dude,
no.
there's this one like it's lore for the Goonies where there's a line at the end of the movie where they say the octopus was really scary when they're talking to everybody, telling them what happened at the end of the movie, and they're like octopus, and so people were thinking, oh well, that's just Data making something up to be dramatic about the situation, but there was in fact a scene where there was an octopus, and the one that they built was just falling apart, and Spielberg even was on set and he was like, "No, this is giving me Bruce Jaws PTSD. Just scrap it. It's just going to be quicker if we don't do anything with this octopus." So I always thought that it would have been kind of interesting to see what that octopus had looked like, but it definitely wouldn't have been CGI. I can guarantee that. So, all right. So, do you have any honorable mentions before we move forward?
I have two.
Okay,
I have two, and I am riding with the robots on these two. Short Circuit
I
and
knew it.
batteries not included.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Batteries Not Included was one of those movies where it's a Spielberg film and they were using some CGI in that. And it was so
Yeah.
good. It almost seems like CGI back in the day looks better than it did today. And it's just so bizarre. And you're like, what? I don't know, mixed with models and figures. I don't know. How they did all that was just so impressive. Dude, I love Batteries Not Included. That's such a good movie.
I think I don't think a lot of people know about it,
I don't
which is
think so
crazy
anymore.
to me.
Yeah, Short Circuit seemed to have made it through and people would pick up more, but even that doesn't really seem like as popular as it should be with the youth. And
No,
I don't
it's
know.
crazy because um, some shit will go down at work, and like instead of like talking crap to my coworkers, I'll be no disassemble, no disassemble, and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh, never mind.
Oh, I
Don't
thought
worry
you were
about
gonna say
it."
like Los Locos kick your face. Los Locos kick your balls into outer space. I was like, yeah, I can see you saying that at work. But yeah, the and then Chappie was like a very grown up version of Short Circuit,
Yes.
your favorite. And but yeah, Batteries Not Included. It's not. I don't think that's streaming
I
anywhere.
don't
And
think it is.
but
Do you
man, that
have
was
it
such a
back
good.
there behind you somewhere?
I actually have it on DVD. I don't even think I ever bought the Blu-ray of that. I don't think they ever made a Blu. I'm sure they did, but it's probably one of those like special collectors where it's like 50
Yeah.
bucks. But I know I have the DVD down here somewhere. But um, yeah, it's a classic movie. 2 stars of Cocoon were in that, so man, we're giving some Cocoon hype on this episode. But
If you've never seen Cocoon, go watch it. It's
yeah,
great.
1 and 2.
Yes.
There's 2 of them. The second one, wasn't so great, but um, I had a couple of honorable mentions. One I did have is the Neverending Story, but that is in fact getting a remake, which kind of sucks.
No.
Um, E.T. Come on, don't ever want to see a remake of E.T. Glad
It's gonna
Spielberg.
happen,
I'm
dude.
glad Spielberg.
I mm,
Well, they learned that whenever they did that remastered re-release in 2003, which was for the 20th anniversary. I can't
mhm.
believe it was the 20th anniversary in 2003. But when they
Jeez.
did that re-release and they added new footage of ET and he was like CGI'd and stuff, I was like,
Mhm.
God, this looks so weird. Like it doesn't mix well with the movie. And that right there just tells you that it just looks better to leave it the way that it was. So, and same thing with Gremlins. I think
Oh yeah.
Gremlins and Critters for that matter, any of those little monster movies back in the 80s, none of those should be remade because they would just be CGI'd. I think the only one that would
Yeah.
work is the Blob because I mean it's
Let's not
organic.
talk about the Blob. Fuck that movie.
It's the
No.
best. Did you
No,
watch it?
it's
You
not.
watched it? Didn't I make you watch it?
Yeah, you made me watch it when we were
Yes.
doing our horror month, and
Yes.
God, it
It was
sucks so
beautiful.
bad, dude.
Director of Shawshank Redemption. And so, well, the writer of Shawshank. And so, yeah. Oh, Labyrinth. I also wrote Labyrinth
Ooh,
down. That I think is something that should never be remade. Everything's so iconic. I mean, David Bowie is the Goblin King alone. I mean, who would you even
yeah.
get in that? Dude, it would be some lame ass
Eminem.
musician. Eminem. Eminem. No, this is some bullshit that they would cast like Machine Gun Kelly to
I was about
play
to say MGK. Oh
MGK
my
as the
god, that would be
Goblin King.
bad.
GK, Machine Goblin King. No! What have we done, Chris?
You put it out
We
in the
put it out
world,
there.
damn it.
Oh shit. I mean, yes, I would like to see that. Oh, that would be awful. But yeah, that's how I see that going down. But that's definitely a product of its time and is
Ooh,
cod
you know
piece.
who else would be a good Goblin King?
Hmm.
Cam Giga.
What is this thing? I forgot to write that guy. I was like, dude, can you just please tell this guy, like, give
Happy
him the
birthday
thrill?
or
Yeah,
something.
give him the thrill of his life. But yeah, so Labyrinth, and I guess that's all I had for my honorable mentions. So if you want to go
I
ahead and knock yours,
I
or
I do want to say before we rattle off number ones
Mhm.
is that this was kind of hard
Yeah,
because there has been already so many remakes of some great movies,
yeah,
and I don't think I can't think off the top of my head one that I was like that was better than the original version.
yeah,
I don't think it has happened yet, and I don't think it will ever happen.
yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I guess because we're getting a Beetlejuice.
hmm But it's a sequel, so that's okay.
Yeah, you're right. So I don't know. I don't know, man. We'll see. We shall see. But number one, like I said, my theme for my picks, if you haven't guessed it, it is Mr. John Hughes.
Mm,
And it's all, not all of his movies, but all my picks are John Hughes films. And my number one sticks with it, and it kind of combines some of the cast of my first two with Molly Ringwald and Michael. Shit, I forget his name.
Anthony Michael Hall.
There you go. Shit. Anthony Michael Hall, Emilio Estevez, and it's the Breakfast Club, man.
That makes sense.
I know there was one point where Victorious
Mhm.
kind of did a spoof on Breakfast Club,
Yeah,
and it just made me realize that you should never touch this property.
yeah,
Nobody should ever touch this property ever. Um, so many iconic moments in this movie, so many, just everything was perfect for this movie, and there's no way to remake it. There's no cast, there's no actor or actress out there right now that could portray these characters the way that the originals did. I don't see it. So that is why it is my number one, and probably still one of my favorite movies ever, The Breakfast Club.
I'm honestly, that's another one that I'm just completely shocked they haven't remade it. Just
Yeah.
because, I mean, you've got 5 white kids in, you know, middle class America, and I'm just thinking, man, producers are probably looking at this. We've got to take the Breakfast Club and diversify the shit out of it.
Oh
You,
yeah.
you can have one representative of every ethnic culture, and I'm shocked that that hasn't been done yet. And because I think with John Hughes, the theme of teenage angst is present in things that are being made today. I think that that's something that could could be retold in a more
Hmm.
current day setting, because kids are still going through the same problems we did socially, emotionally, physically, just how we all do. And so
Yeah.
I think in that sense it would be like it would make sense to do it. But yeah, I'm shocked that that has yet to be remade. I really am. I mean, because you would definitely have to have just so much more diversity in it than it
Oh
did.
yeah.
And it's just, but like you said, it's a timeless film, and kids still can watch that today. That's the beauty of his movies, is that it still speaks on a level of a teenager, and any
Oh
teenager
yeah.
could watch that. Your son could watch The Breakfast Club and be like, oh yeah, I can relate to this, or I can see something in this.
Hmm.
And it's just a timeless movie. It really is. And I guess like Ferris Bueller is another one of those John Hughes movies that, I mean, I guess you could remake it. I'm surprised it hasn't been remade, but yeah, I agree with that one. That one's pretty good, but again, still shocked that it hasn't been done.
Yeah. Same.
So,
And I'm shocked and happy.
yeah, yeah, it's a good shock. But my number one, I guess Spielberg has almost been like, as a producer, has been the theme of my picks. But this is Back to the Future, and y- it's gonna happen. I know Ed Gale and Robert Zemeckis have both said, even Spielberg has said, no, we'll never remake that movie. It's never gonna happen. But man, when they're past their days and somebody else gets the property for that, it's gonna probably happen. And I saw something where somebody was like, "Oh, did you know that Tom Holland is the new Marty McFly?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"No."
I saw the
It's
meme of
it was
that,
like
and
a
I'm like,
fake AI thing. I was like,
yeah.
"No, that's not real. It's not. It's fake. Don't believe it." But man, just the thought of it, when I just heard that, I was like, "I know it's not real," but yet it still didn't sit right with me. I was like, Back to the Future should never be remade. It still holds up today
Oh yeah.
visually, from a story. I guess the only weird thing is like the whole relationship with his mom. That was kind of odd, but aside from that, I think that's just one that should just be untouched forever. And it's a classic,
Yeah.
still works. That's why it's my number one pick.
So, question:
Uh-huh.
if it were to happen, what car do you think they would use in place of a DeLorean?
Oh,
A Tesla?
yes, 100%. A Cybertruck is going to be
Yeah.
the new time machine. You are 100% right. It would definitely be a Tesla, and I would bet money it would be a Cybertruck.
Have you seen those things? I mean,
I
they finally have been released into the wild,
Yeah,
and I've seen a couple here in Amarillo, and I'm like, no,
I mean
just
I would drive
no.
one. I would I
I
would
know.
I would take one. I like this whole like future look, because I've always been about future. Even Back to the Future Part 2, watching that as a kid, I'm like, I cannot wait to get to this version of the future. So the Cybertruck is finally getting us there. But yeah, I mean it's different. What's really funny about it is that it stands out so much because nothing else around it looks like it,
Looks like it, yeah.
and it's kind of like watching, like, 30 years we're going to be in a future where everything's going to look like it and it'll look more normal. But as of right now, it really stands out. But I think you're 100% right that if they did do Back to the Future, it would definitely be a Tesla inspired model of some sort. That's
So
hilarious.
sad. So
You know,
sad.
well, if you're gonna build a time machine, you might as well do it with some style. I would be more worried about who they would cast, but that's another problem that hopefully we will not have to worry about. And in saying so, Chris.
Oh, you know who
Oh,
would
what?
be a good Marty McFly?
Oh, shit, who?
Cam Michigan.
He's like, he could be old enough to be Doc Brown at this point. People listen to this, they're like, who the hell is this Cam Gigan? I hate this guy. Poor Cam.
They love him. Everybody loves him.
He's going to send you a cease and desist order. He's like, stop saying my name on your damn podcast.
And I would frame it.
Yeah, you're like, you're making me feel bad because I'm not going to be in any of these damn movies you keep putting me in. On that note.
Is it time to wrap up,
It's
sir?
time to wrap up.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening to another episode of the Screen Addicts podcast. Whether you're listening to the morning, afternoon, at night, thank you for joining us. And since you're here, go ahead and drop us a subscribe. That would be amazing, so you can get notified every time we drop a new episode. And also, since you're here, if you could leave us a review, that would be amazing. It just helps us get a little bit more seen around the podcast world. So if you'd make it 5 stars, we'd love that. And then on to the social media world, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, X, or TikTok, just search the Screen Addicts podcast, look for our little cover art, and you'll be sure to find us. There has not been anybody that has duped our accounts yet, so we're the only ones. And then go back to Facebook and request to be part of our Screen Addicts Fanatics group. It is a private group because we like to keep everybody in anticipation and not let the world see what the fanatics are doing because we're such an amazing group. So we'd love for you to be one of our fanatics. Just go to Facebook, request to be part of the Screen Addicts Fanatics group. It is where we are most active, dropping trailers and movie news and memes and all the things. So don't be like Jeremy and do not look what's going on. So you can be up to date with all your friends. It's all there. So make sure you go and request to be part of that group. And then also, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, you can always email us as well at screenaddictspodcast@gmail.com. We are stockpiling some questions so we can have a full episode of our listener questions. So that will be fun. So make sure if you have anything to say, just drop us an email. That would be great. And then the last 2 little plugs here before we head out, guys, is make sure you go and subscribe to both of our side projects. Steven's Real Problems podcast, and that's REEL Problems. Super awesome show about kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes of movies, kind of like the docuseries that we were talking about earlier. If you want the drama.
You were saying this would be good for Real Problems. I'm like, I think they're covering it now. I don't know if I want to go into too much more detail on this one.
You missed the boat, bro.
I know, right? Man, that's crazy.
But go ahead and subscribe to his podcast. And then if you are in the Texas Panhandle, you are definitely going to want to check out my new show as well. It's called Boyd's Backyard, where I'm going to be interviewing some of the Panhandle's most prominent barbecue pitmasters, grillers, and chefs. I got 1 episode out right now, so go make sure you subscribe to that one. It's pretty fun listen, if I say so myself. But I think that does us for tonight. Steven, you good?
I'm great.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you, and good night.
Adios, amigos.